Welcome everyone to Three Guys One Music. I'm Jamie. I'm here with Mike and Grant. Hello, guys. What is
Hello.
happening?
Hello.
So how's it going? How's life treating you guys?
Better than being stuck in the snow somewhere on the side of the road waiting on a tow truck for 2 hours.
Ain't that the truth?
Yeah, that was a fun experience. That's the most fun I've had in a while.
Well, hey, gotta take your fun where you can get it.
That's right.
Yeah, that happened. It did happen. Well, today we're going to be talking about our favorite TV instrumentals. We're going to kind of stay in the instrumental frame of mind. Last week's episode was our favorite instrumentals, and this week I thought it might be good to kind of continue in that trend and go for the TV instrumentals. And there's a lot of great pieces of music that were presented for television through the last several decades. And so we're going to share a few of ours that we all enjoy. And we're going to go for our top 5, and we may include a couple extras,
I'm not gonna
time
stay here.
permitting. But
I did my homework this week.
Mike is
Lots and lots of homework. I've got
Mike
dates
is
and
a-
names.
Mike is an overcompensator.
I was bored.
I don't have quite as many as you guys, but I think I have some good choices. But
I got
we'll start
5
with what we.
favorites.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm saying I got 5 favorites, and the rest are honorable mentions or what have you. You
Yeah.
know, just in case there's time or whatever.
We'll see how many we can squeeze in tonight.
Yeah. We'll talk about what we've been listening to. I will go first with that. I have been listening to X's 1982 release, Under a Big Black Sun, or Under the Big Black Sun.
My first
I just-
CD purchase.
Man, really? Is that right?
Yeah.
I think it's definitely my favorite X record. I just love the production. I love Motel in My Bed, Riding with Mary,
Yeah.
Hungry Wolf, Blue Spark. I mean, it's a really consistent record. And the next
Solid.
record, In the New World,
Mhm.
Yeah.
that's a great record too. That's got even maybe better production. They're one of the few bands that really kind of they did their job and just got better every record.
Yeah.
I-
There's a
I-
raw there's a rawness to that album that I really like.
Yeah,
Even though
really.
the production's really good, it's still a bit raw and alive.
Yeah, I've really been enjoying. I was listening to it last summer quite a bit, but here the last couple of weeks I've been listening to that record quite a bit. And I've been listening to back around 2010. The Black Crowes did several multiple nights at different venues, and they put out a bunch of digital live records and a bunch of deep cuts. And so basically, I've been listening to a bunch of cuts from different 2010 live shows, and I've just really been enjoying where they were at in the band at that time. It was just a lot of consistent shows, in my opinion. And finally, this is a new discovery for me. This is a really recent, like today, but I have been listening to it nonstop, so I'm going to include it, which I ordinarily would not. There's a gentleman named Cameron Winter that I got turned on to, and there's a record called Heavy Metal, and it is unorthodox, but it is really interesting.
Oh, is that
And
what you sent us?
that is what I
Yeah.
sent you guys. It
And
is
it is
really
not-
interesting.
And it is not heavy metal.
It is not heavy metal. It is just, I don't know. It's definitely different, but it's got my attention, and I've just really been enjoying it. So I'm gonna do a deep dive on his band Geese and Cameron Winter himself, and see if I can figure out what makes this guy tick, because it is unusual, but I dig it. So
Yeah.
that's what I've been listening to. How about you guys?
Cool. All right. Well, I will continue the Cameron Winter fan club ranting.
Yeah, right.
Fanfare.
You sent that to us, and I told you earlier, ordinarily that's something I might have just passed by.
Yeah.
But since you brought it to my attention, I gave it a good listen. And it is like you said, everyone you talk to about it, it is entrancing. It's something really appealing about it that makes you want to listen. And kind of
yeah,
experimental, kind of very low, like you said, lo-fi. I really like it. And Geese, not Goose.
Yeah.
Goose is a different band, also a good band. But Geese is very different from winter solo stuff, and
Right.
very interesting. So
Yeah.
give them both a listen. I listened to both of those just today.
Nice.
What else is on my list? Consider the Source, a 3-piece fusion band. I keep listening to fusion every time I come in here. It's like, here's the fusion band of the week. But this week it's Consider the Source. Just a lot of fun, kind of spacey and wacky, but the guitarist has a double neck, one's fretless, and he just makes crazy screaming noises on it. But it's a lot of fun, good music. I was feeling nostalgic this week, so I listened to a lot of Talk Talk. If you know their 3 hits, there's so much more than just that. Their first album is outstanding. Their third and fourth albums are so removed from the first and still outstanding. Talk Talk, it's disappointing that it's unfortunate, I should say, that the lead singer and writer died when he did. But if you're slightly familiar with Talk Talk, I recommend giving them a listen. Also, like I said, feeling nostalgic, so I can go back a few years to Big Star, listen to them for a while, and the Groundhogs. Groundhogs are very raw blues rock band from the 60s.
Yeah.
Good stuff. And to round it out, HSAS, Hager, Sean,
Oh, wow.
Aronson, and Shreve. Their one album, such a great, just a pure rock album. It's just so good. A lot of fun.
Would you believe that I was listening to Giza from that record today?
Oh yeah,
I was. It's on a playlist that I keep on my phone. But yeah.
yeah. But all four of those guys are just outstanding.
Yeah.
Musicians and rockers, and it's a great band. I wish I'd done more, but the one album we have is really good.
I don't know if you know the full story of that. I mean, basically, Neil Sean had just finished touring with Journey and wanted to just keep going and do a project, and they recorded I don't know how many shows, but that record is all live, and they just took crowd out of the recordings.
Yeah.
And tried to make it as clean as possible, but they didn't really do any studio. They may have done some overdubs, but it's essentially a live record. There's just no crowd noise on it.
Whiter Shade of Pale shows that you can kind of tell it's a live record there. Otherwise, it sounds like like a rehearsal basically.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not real polished, but I like that edge it's got to it.
Yeah. Neil was using his Roland guitar on that always sounded fantastic. He used that guitar in Journey, and that was one of the best sounding guitars that he used back then. So yeah, that's cool. Yeah, there's some good stuff on that record.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, that album's so good you don't really, if you're not paying attention, you might not realize it's live.
Yeah.
And they sound that tight just with much little rehearsal and much other than writing and playing,
I think I'd read they had like 1 month of rehearsal before they did those shows.
Well, they had to write all the songs too.
Yeah.
I'm sure that month was probably them writing the songs.
Yeah.
I don't think, besides Whiter Shade of Pale, of course, I don't think any of that stuff, that was just kind of like, let's just see what happens.
Yeah. And not much time to gel together, to like learn everyone's nuances and be like, okay.
Yeah. Michael Shreve had played with, Neil back in the early 70s, but I don't think, Kenny Aronson, he had been in Billy Squire's band just a couple years. I saw Kenny Aronson play with Billy Squire a couple years prior to that.
He's so good. He's so solid though, it'd be easy for him to fit in anywhere.
Yeah. Very good bass player. All right. What you been listening to, Grant?
I listened to a lot of synthwave this week. Discovered a couple new bands I'd never heard of. Listened to some stuff and then let it choose what played next. And I kept stopping and going, wait, what's this? Like this, so it saves it to my list. Or what's this? And it was almost like, okay, I'm just gonna leave it open and hit like every time. But yeah, there's another band called Between Planets I'd never heard of, and they've got some really, really cool stuff. FM 84, I've mentioned them before. Time Cop always, but it's there was a time there in synthwave where there was a lot of copycatness going on, and you have to be discerning. Sometimes you hear something and go, "Oh wow, great," and then you hear something that's, "Oh wait, okay, who did this first, and who kind of got inspired from whom." And but you can kind of tell who the more original players are, as with any kind of music, But
That's interesting. I mean,
and
I would look at it differently, I guess. But I mean, if you like the song, you like the piece of
yeah,
music.
yeah. Oh no, I'm not saying you don't like it, but
Yeah.
it's just sometimes you can really hear it and an influence, shall we say,
Yeah.
and or even the chord progression. And
Oh, I
it's like,
see.
wow, you're wearing out that chord progression. Like
Right.
someone to write a song and it'll be popular, and then that same chord progression, even though it might be transposed, it's the same thing.
Right.
And it's in 10 songs.
Yeah, that would get boring.
Yeah, but and the throwback this week is Nick Kershaw.
Yeah.
Had two really, really good albums, and then kind of fell off a little bit, but
Yeah.
great songwriter to be in that poppy kind of English, um, vein or whatever way back in the day. But still solid songs, just like the Talk songs, just like
Yeah.
stuff like that. Still solid listening. But
All right. Well, excellent. All right. So we'll go ahead and get into our topic. And do either one of you guys want to go first? Or
You know what I'm going to ask? You
What's
guys
that?
got a criteria? If it's
I
anything
was
left
actually
out, if
thinking.
anything,
I'm glad you're asking this because I was
Yeah.
thinking this. I thought this would come up, and I was thinking about this today.
let's hear it.
Let me ask it. Just go ahead and ask your question. Go ahead and ask it how you would ask it.
oh well, that was it. Did you have a?
I thought you were going to elaborate on that and give me some parameters.
leave?
I forgot
So,
some songs had lyrics halfway through, and I was like, "Oh yeah, this would be." Oh wait a minute, they got singing in here.
Yeah,
So we're doing instrumentals, so
some of the songs, I didn't even, a lot of these have lyrics, so I didn't do my homework very well. But like some, I left off because there were movies first, and that theme carried over. So I'm like, okay, that's a movie theme. It just happens to follow the TV show.
I think I've got
that kind of thing.
one of those.
I thought I was going to leave some off, but like cartoon themes, but some of those are my favorites, so I had to put them in there anyway. So I didn't narrow my list down.
Well, to answer
too
your
much.
question, besides the fact that they actually need to be instrumentals,
Yeah.
I don't really have a criteria at all personally. I just think that all of mine are instrumentals.
Yeah.
I weeded out a couple. I was like, "Oh yeah, I forgot this has words."
But no, I don't have a criteria.
I want to mention something interesting first before we proceed.
Yes.
I was rambling on one night before I even had written anything down about these that I was going to list, and my wife was like, "Those are all old." I was like, "You're right," and I got to thinking. After a certain time, TV theme songs became boring and became either kitschy or they had lyrics, obviously, and they were just dumb lyrics trying to fit something in. And they just weren't, excuse my French, they weren't any good, And I was realizing going back, looking through all the stuff, like, wow, up to about late 70s, early 80s. And then, I mean, there's exceptions always. But after about 80, I don't know, 5 or 6, TV theme songs started getting really lame, for lack of a better term.
Mm.
And but it got me thinking. I mean, for the most part,
I think it goes further than that. I think it goes into the 90s, early 90s. I think would be probably the time that I would say that it just really noticeably got. There were Snuffy Garrett did some great music for
my favorite one
TV shows back in those days.
1990. So yeah.
Okay.
But
yeah, I think the 90s. I think that certainly. What is a great recent instrumental? I would love for you guys to challenge me and tell me that.
Yeah, I don't know.
People out there listening, they could come in and tell, "Oh, you forgot all about this one." I'd love that, but mine are pretty old. But these are
Yeah.
pieces. I would say that the only criteria for me was these are pieces of music that truly, truly, I do think are high quality.
Hmm.
And I have gone, but they also mean something to me. Some of these are
Yeah.
sentimental choices, but not many. Most of them I mean, I like all of them. But to me, I went through this phase about 15 years ago, or maybe even less than that, that I was really, really into TV instrumentals from the 70s and the 80s, even in the 60s.
Hmm.
And I was complete nerding out. I would play this for stuff and people would say, "You got to be kidding me." It's like, "What are you listening to?" And I was like, "That's what I want to listen to." I love it. I
Yeah.
love these composers. And I know these composers. I know the people's names that wrote a lot of these pieces, and I'll name some of them when I go through my
Yeah.
list. These guys were writing high quality
Oh
music.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
it wasn't just about something, it became more, uh, you know, discardable, for lack
Yeah.
of a better word,
Yeah, that's what I'm kind
later.
of meaning. It's just doesn't mean as much. It's not as deep. It's not
Right.
as
Yeah.
These things really
yeah.
that I'm gonna mention, I think are really well composed,
Hmm.
and they were played by, and actually one of the pieces that I'm gonna mention has one of my favorite musicians of all time on it, and I know that because this person told me that,
Hmm.
and you guys may know who that person was. It's a bass player that I took a
Oh yeah,
Skype
yeah.
lesson with many years ago. She
Mhm.
Nice,
confirmed for
nice,
me that she played on this particular track back in the day. Because
great.
I said, "Did you play on that?" She's like, "That was one of my favorites."
Well,
Yeah,
Jamie,
she
start us out. Don't
okay.
keep us in suspense.
Okay, well, I'm gonna go for,
Chronological order.
this is John, this is chronological, you got it. I'm gonna go with something that's not obvious at all. I'm gonna leave what I think one of you guys will mention. I hope you guys will mention another one that I'm gonna leave off. This is the Olympic fanfare theme, and this is TV instrumental. So to me, this is, even though it's an event, I don't need it to be a weekly,
Yeah.
sitcom or
Mhm.
drama. This piece of music was based on a something by Leo Arnaud called Bugler's Dream from 1956, but for the '68 Olympics. Dun, 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 dun.
Dun, dun.
Mhm.
Now, John Williams ended up writing his version,
Yeah.
15 or 16 years later, which that's great. But to me, my favorite is the version from the late 60s and early 70s. That's what I think of when I think of the Olympics. It's just classic. I love that piece of music, and I've researched it and I've listened to that piece many times on a compilation. I love it.
Nice.
So that's my number one choice.
That is a very unexpected choice and a good
Yeah.
one. A
Yeah.
really good one.
Great.
All
Well,
right.
that's it. That's me.
Who next? Who next?
Hit us up, Grant.
All right, I go. I usually do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, but I'm gonna do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 this time because my top TV instrumental is from 1990 composer Angelo Badalamenti with the Twin Peaks theme.
Nice.
It fit the show perfectly.
I did.
Ethereal, mysterious,
Right.
a little bit daunting, a little bit unnerving, just perfect. And the dreamy chords and the for lack of a better term, surf-esque guitar, which was not really surf-esque, but it had that little bit of just a scooch of twang in there. But yeah, just a fantastic piece of music that stands on its own. Like
Yeah.
if you hear that, you're like, oh, I love this music. It stands. It's enough of a composition that it stands on its own, aside from the TV show.
And I think when Twin Peaks first came on, you hear that music, it doesn't really give anything away.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really know, just because the music is like that. It doesn't suggest anything. You're not really sure where it's going to go. It could be almost anything.
Mm-hmm.
Although it fit the show perfectly.
Yeah, it keeps you off balance.
Yeah, yeah. Good choice.
Thanks.
That is an excellent choice.
Probably my newest theme song, because all of mine are really old too. I'm going to go with Cowboy Bebop. The song Tank is the theme song. The show ran only one season from 97, 98. That was written by Yoko Kuno, who created a band just for that soundtrack. That's the Seatbelts. And that song Tank is just a fiery bullet of a, it's a gunshot of a jazz tune, just straight out of the box,
Yeah, it's cool.
moving 100
You
miles
have
an hour.
stumped me because I don't think I'm familiar with it.
Yeah, it's really short, but it's really dramatic. Kind of the 60s spy thing. I was going to mention Archer too, because it's kind of in the same vein, but Tank is the better song, I think. Cowboy Bebop is a great animated show if you're interested in watching that kind of thing. But,
Cool.
when it first came on and I heard that song, it really surprised me.
Yeah, it grabs you.
Yeah.
Now, are you all over the place like time wise?
Yeah, man.
Okay, so you're
not just
you're
in
gonna
this, but in life in general.
well, I
Just all over the
understand.
place.
Yeah, because I really hope you guys mention one of these things that I skipped. Okay, but my next choice is going to be MASH, 1972. Johnny Mandel, I believe, is the composer of this piece of music. Suicide is Painless.
It's got
And
lyrics too.
Yeah, actually, the lyrics to that song were written by one of the creators of the show. He contributed lyrics to that, and he was like 15, 14,
Oh, really?
and made like $1 million off of the lyrics to that song or something. I read this story a long time ago, but I might not have all those facts right. But somebody, I can't remember who it was. I don't think it was Johnny Mandel himself, but maybe it was Johnny Mandel himself. I don't know. Yeah, but anyway, interesting. But that's just Tommy Tedesco played the classical guitar on that,
right?
And one of the greatest studio musicians ever.
Yeah,
and it's just so perfect for, I don't know. It just does everything for me. I love the horn arrangement in it, and I love how kind of down it is. Because it was such a serious.
It fit perfect.
It was just written beautifully. Whoever arranged that piece of that arrangement out of the song itself did a brilliant job, and I don't know who did that. That was just really smart. So it's just great.
It's a great song. But again, that's one of the songs I left off the list because it was from the movie. But still a great song.
But not the same. I mean, the movie version is not like the TV show. It's different.
Yeah.
So to me, the TV show is its own entity. But I understand what you're saying. But the arrangement itself for the TV show is just so of itself.
Yeah, it's very different from the movie soundtrack.
Yeah, it's just so good. Whenever you have the fortune to have a piece of music that is so intrinsically connected with the visual, I mean, you've done your job. And
you got that's the Name That Tune song, where you hear two notes and you're like, MASH,
Yeah, it's really well written, I think. So I love that arrangement. I shouldn't say it's well written. It is well written, but it's from an existing song, but it's so much better than the original song.
Yeah.
So that's why I think it's so successful.
Yeah.
Stands on its own. So I love it. So that's number 2 for me.
Great.
Cool.
All right, let's see. Number 2 for me. I'm going with another mysterious piece of music from 1993. Mark Snow, the composer. X-Files theme.
I was thinking of that earlier.
Yeah, another one that you immediately first note almost. That's X-Files, and it's short for the show. I've heard longer versions, but
was that 1993? Was that the first
93? Yeah. And but again, another one that just sums it up. Mysterious, a little bit scary, even.
Who's the show's creator?
Chris Carter.
Chris Carter said. I remember reading an article about the music. He said he wanted a theme song that Cub Scouts could whistle around the campfire,
scare each other.
And scare each other. And that's a perfect description of that song.
Mike, I don't know if you remember this, but me and you had just started rehearsing back in the fall of 93, and that show was brand new.
Yeah.
I remember I was sort of intrigued, but I never really got into it. I just never found the time to really devote myself to it.
Yeah, I
But,
thought it was so ridiculous at the time.
yeah,
I could
yeah,
not bring myself to watch it, but I have watched it.
yeah.
I've watched almost all of it, later
Oh,
on.
wow.
It's a fun show if you're into that kind of thing.
I probably need to go back and revisit it because I probably have seen less than half a dozen shows,
Yeah.
even after all this time. So it's clearly good enough.
Yep.
Mhm.
People enjoyed it for a long time. All right.
Well, speaking of John Williams, we'll go back to him. Before Raiders of the Lost Ark, before Superman, Star Wars, Jaws, Towering Inferno, all those great film scores.
Just try to throw in all the ones you got.
Let me
right
go
now.
the opposite direction. Anyway, he was writing music for television, and one of my favorite shows. Then he wrote 2 themes for it. Lost in Space, 1963 through 68. The first season he wrote a theme song which was kind of, it wasn't derivative, I'll say, but it was perfect for the show. Had that swirling feel to the orchestra of not necessarily being lost but not knowing your direction. It felt like the title, Lost in Space. The second, I think it was the second season, maybe the third season, he wrote a second theme song, which was this big, powerful, fast adventure theme. And the show always opened with some sort of predicament, and oh, shocking cliffhanger, how are they going to get out? And it would count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and boom, blast into this trumpet motif, and it was just the perfect adventure theme. So both themes from Lost in Space would be my choice by John Williams. I think they're excellent.
I have a comment on John Williams. I was just thinking that back in Bach and Beethoven day, but their time,
He's not
they
that
were
old.
they were commissioned to write works.
Yeah.
So they had to make a living. They weren't just writing music. I mean, they would have written music because they loved it, but they had to make a living. So they were commissioned to, especially Bach. He wrote all these pieces because he was paid to do so.
Yeah.
That didn't exist in John Williams' time. He had to make a living. And I would argue that John Williams probably has as many memorable, wonderful melodies as any of the classical composers. He is one of the greats of all time,
Yeah.
in my opinion. It doesn't matter that he's a contemporary. He is one of the greatest ever. I mean, how many movies has he written, themes that we all know?
The fact that you could
can't think
hum
of-
part of each one
Exactly.
and you
I
could name
can't
that
think
movie.
of any other composer, any other great composer. Elmer
Yeah.
Bernstein, comes to mind. But Jerry Goldsmith. I mean, they all are fantastic, but nobody is on the level of John Williams, in
Yeah.
my opinion.
Yeah. I don't know how old he was at the time, but think about writing a theme song to a sci-fi TV show, and it's amazing. It's perfect.
Yeah.
And then writing a second one for the next season, and it's even better.
Well, my
So
whole point in
that just
saying
speaks to his talent.
my whole point in saying about that they had to be commissioned. John Williams had to be paid. So
Yeah.
he wrote this music. People might say, well, he's not on the same level as one of the greats because he wrote for movies and TV. He had to get paid.
Yeah.
He wrote these incredible pieces of music that we still know so well, and records are put out for people to enjoy because they're that strong. But the fact that you can write a memorable melody and something that touches you, that's what it's all about. That's
Yeah.
the secret to being a great writer, if you ask me. And he has it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's just, he's unbelievable. Definitely one of the best ever. And it's a wonder, when he finally passes, he should have every tribute possible. And just, I know he has. He's been celebrated and very much appreciated, but he is truly one of the greats. So love that choice. All right. So my number 3, I don't think I'm going to pick many things you guys are going to assume I will. Um, my next pick is going to be Policewoman, 1974,
Oh, wow. Okay.
by Morton Stevens. This is one of my favorite 70s TV themes I've listened to time and time again.
I've got one of his too.
Well, I hope so, because I'm pretty sure I know which one the other one is. But yeah, it's just so good. It's just one of those things that people have forgotten about, but it's really a good piece of music.
Mhm.
And it's just one of those that I heard by accident. I don't know how many years ago, and I hadn't heard it in forever. And I thought,
Mhm.
oh man, I love that. And it's just a certain period of time where stylistically, that's partly sentimental that I really like that, but it's also because I really appreciate the
You like the
composition
music,
in
yeah.
it. Absolutely. If it was just about sentimental, it
It'd
wouldn't
be all kid
last.
shows, yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I don't even
Batman
think it's
theme.
a great TV show. It's okay, but
I've not watched
it
it,
has
no.
nothing to do with the content, but I really think it's a successful TV theme. So
Yeah.
that is number 3 for me.
That's a good
Nice.
choice.
Yeah.
All right, number 3, you just had a policewoman. Now I've got a private detective. From 1967, the composer, one of the greats, Lalo Schifrin. This theme song is in 3/4, 6/8, whatever you want to call it. Mannix, the theme to Mannix.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going a different direction. Okay.
Mannix.
Yeah, and
That's 1967.
yeah,
That's one of my favorite themes as well.
yeah, great piece of music.
Yeah.
And there were several
It is.
different versions through the
Yeah.
maybe 3 or 4 that they re-recorded through the 8 seasons, 7 seasons. I think it's 8 seasons, and
Right.
just a little bit of variation, and all that music for that show is great. The incidental music, it's just Michael and I talked about this before about how great it was back in the day where they had composers and then they had real musicians making music and everybody
Oh,
was
yes.
happy, and now it's one guy doing it from a workstation or whatever.
Yeah.
You lose a
Yeah.
little bit of that interplay between musicians and different musicians putting their own style on. Even though they didn't write something, they see a piece of music and they play it their way.
Well, even if you take somebody like in a show like $6 Million Man or Bionic Woman, the guy who wrote those pieces of music, that was great. He was a great composer, and his name escapes me. It's Joe somebody, but he was a successful composer in Los Angeles, and it's actually well written. You have to write for the piece of, the
yeah, you have to capture
whatever,
capture
your
a
project,
feeling of- yeah.
the Incredible Hulk. I
Mhm.
mean, I'm assuming that you guys don't have that on you. I think Jerry Fielding is his name, actually.
Yeah.
I think he wrote that one as well. So he was kind of in that little niche, but very memorable and very well composed. It wasn't just kooky,
Yeah.
and silly. It was actually very dramatic, and I'm fascinated with that time period. There are some wonderful, wonderful composers from the 70s and the 80s, especially. And 60s, I think what a lot was going on was you had these film composers and they were doing film and TV. So it was just, I don't want to use the word that I was going to use, but they were just doing the work that they could get, and they just happened to be, successful in
And
capturing the moment.
once you had a hit with the TV show and everybody loved the theme, you got more work. Just like any composer who, I mean, they wouldn't use John Williams a million times if he sucked. You know what I mean?
Well, I don't know how many people would start composing for movies off the bat. Like Lalo Schifrin. I mean, it's one of my favorite composers, but he clearly started in TV. He didn't just jump to the movies.
Yeah.
It's
like so many famous actors show up in a lot of these 60s and 70s shows making that's just where they started. They're just playing a character and you don't even know who they are, but they become famous actors later. You got to start somewhere,
Right. All right. I like it. All right.
Where are we? Man, I know I've watched every episode of the Wild Wild West 2 or 3 times. I love that show. Ran from 65 to 69, and Richard Markowitz wrote the theme song. not the first choice. I can't think of there was a Russian composer who just didn't work out. Markowitz came in and wrote the theme we all know, and what a great adventure theme with so many different elements to it.
Yes.
And I think one of the signs of a great theme, TV show theme, for adventure shows, especially where you have a motif that you can use throughout the show. Excuse me. And that was just one, whenever I remember rushing home from school and those reruns were on, and I'd be in the kitchen fixing my snack and I'd hear that opening theme. And
yeah,
it's just, it's an exciting theme. It's a perfect Western adventure theme for a silly show.
It was almost on my list, and it's a fantastic piece of music.
Yeah.
What I really love about it is how whimsical it is, but yet it has the drama. It has all the elements that really made up the show.
Yeah.
And this 90-second piece of music, whatever it is, it's just so successful what he was trying to do.
Yeah.
He just did it. I mean, it's really, and it's memorable. It's completely successful in my opinion.
It starts out with that snarky, laid back rhythm, and then the orchestra comes in, and it's just so perfect.
Yeah, that's great. I really like that. I'm doing an audible here. One that I was going to mention, I'm going to use maybe as an honorable, but I'm going to go to Taxi from 1978, which is Bob James, Angela. It's actually the song that was made. It's just one of my favorite ever. I think it really epitomizes what the late 70s were with the sounds, the instruments used on that piece of music. It just captured a moment. I love the composition, but the way they did it, the way it's presented, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It is of the moment.
Yeah.
It's 70s. Clearly it's 70s, but it was 1978, if I'm not mistaken, was the show debuted. It just checks all the boxes for me. I think it's a really, really memorable, successful, well-written TV instrumental.
There's so many good ones, but they have words, and that's one that doesn't have words.
That one is. I like that it doesn't say this is for a comedy show.
Right?
Taxi was so off the wall and had so many great eccentric characters, but the theme song didn't tell you that. The theme song said, "Sit back, relax. I'll drive us there.
Watch the chaos unfold."
Yeah. If you think about that, the show, if they would have tried to put a different theme, and made it kind of silly,
the
show wouldn't have been as good. You don't think about that at the time, but it's
bad. You would think about it when the show comes on. You're like,
well,
not even. I want to see the show, but there's a hit mute.
Well, even if it wasn't bad, even if it was good, but it was just
not as
you
good.
kind of already in the mindset that no, this is going to be, I'm going to be laughing, but you had it was a perfect, I don't know, contrast because it was so, I don't know. I think it's very clever how they did that. I don't know if it was an accident or if it was completely on purpose, but it worked.
It is a great theme song and a beautiful song in itself.
All right, that's number 4 for me.
Nice. All right, well, I've got another. I'm sensing a theme in mine. It's very mysterious, and it's from 1959. Marius Constant. I don't know if he's uber French or not. Twilight Zone theme, and not the little. Everybody remembers the but there's so much more to it, and that guitar, that mysterious guitar that comes out, and it just opens up, and there's no beat per se. It's just like you're just drifting in a sea of uncertainty, and that's perfect for the Twilight Zone.
Nice.
Yeah. That again, exemplifying what you're about to see. There's so many incidents in that little events that
It
you know
prepares you
happen.
for the uncertainness, you know.
Yeah, you don't know what's coming next.
But yeah,
You know, well, I was just going to say, it's funny that we were just talking about how after a certain time period, the music themes don't seem to be as important.
Mhm.
I mean, I could be wrong about that, but I think I'm right.
Well, there are
that-
exceptions, but I think
Yeah,
for the
right,
most
there are
part,
exceptions.
They're not as well done.
I just think that back then it was taken so seriously that
It was art. They were looking at it as
it was
art.
art. And this
Yeah.
was something that this is something I'm putting some effort into because I take pride in this. This is going to stand the test of time.
That was my next. I was going to say they were thinking
Yeah.
what I'm making. I'm trying to make something so good that it's going to
Yeah.
stand the test of time. You know, it's not for throwaway. It's not
Well,
whatever.
you know, it could also be because they could have had no, I don't know this to be true, but it could be the fact that they were afraid that with television, they could just hire another composer to do another version of it the next year. And if it wasn't very good, if it wasn't great,
Yeah.
you know, but the great ones are going to stick around for quite a while.
Yeah.
But if it was, you know, not that great, I don't know how often that happens that somebody the show had a completely different theme show, but they were different versions of the same, you know, theme. But
yeah.
I'm
anyway,
sure there's some. I don't know offhand what they are.
I haven't investigated at all.
Yeah. Well, those, you know, the ones you remember, they're not thrown together haphazard. These are professional musicians. No,
Right.
and you know, I've got a long list of songs here, and a handful of them hit the charts. Some of them went to number one. You know, so excuse me, choking again. But yeah, there's a lot to making a TV show theme song.
Oh yeah, you treat it just as serious as if you were writing your own original song, you know. But you're trying
piece
to
of music.
Inject the feelings and the whatever the creators or director has said. I want it to feel this way or make you think this, you know.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the thing that is lost on, you know, younger generations. It's not as important to them. Maybe music in general. They like it. Again, there are exceptions. There are plenty of people who absolutely adore music, but I don't think it's as important to a large segment of the population in a certain generation as it used to be for us. It was more important for us.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe it just seemed like there was. We didn't have as many distractions.
Yeah,
it was easier for us to concentrate on it.
Background music. It wasn't just background music.
Yeah.
You know, like it is for a lot of people, I guess.
You know, you think about the people that we grew up with. Certainly there had to be some people who were just completely indifferent about music, and they weren't moved by anything. You know, I've never understood that, but we hear things differently. We are different human beings. I mean, we don't have the same capacity for things. Brilliant people who they really could take or leave music, you know. It is confusing to me, but in some ways I understand because I thought, well, you're not distracted by art. Let's just go ahead and get down to it and make a bunch of money so I can retire comfortably. There's a part of that I think about. I thought, well, you're taking out part of the confusion of life. You don't really have passion for this, so let's just get to work. I don't know that I don't know how that would be. I can't relate to that. You know, art and music in general is incredibly important to me and to all three of us.
Yeah.
It's what we understand and what we know. It's something that moved us. But I don't know if the younger generations, because music in general is not as important, maybe, I think I'm safe to say that, that the themes that we've listened to in the last 35 or 30 years in general, they're not, couldn't even tell you what they were.
Yeah,
For the most part. For the most part.
When I was talking to my wife, I was like, well, you know, because they're not memorable.
Yeah. It's so easy to say whenever you have a person that's 25 or 30, it's like, well, you know, you like that because you grew up with it. It's old. It's like, I like it because it's good. You know, I'd like to think that I'm one of the people that really can discern. No, I like it because it's good. Because I like it if it's good, if it's current.
I was saying
know,
it could be done yesterday, and if oh,
yeah,
wow, this is fantastic,
yeah. So I don't know.
Whose turn is
It's a very interesting thing to me.
I don't know.
Sidebar.
We
Whose turn is it?
We just finished with Twilight Zone, right?
Yeah, that was me, right?
Okay.
So it's you.
I think
So
you
you
guys
were
would
up,
be
Mike.
I think you guys would be disappointed if I didn't mention the theme to Barney Miller from 1975 to 82. That was written by Jack
Yeah.
Elliott and Alan Ferguson. But
Yeah.
Chuck Berghofer was the bass
Yes.
player, and he was told just to come up with something.
Yeah.
So that very memorable opening to Barney Miller was an improvisation.
Nice.
And I love it.
Yes.
It's such a great song, and such a just a cool jazz tune. And
Yes.
yeah, it feels like a big city police station. I don't know, but it was perfect for
Yeah.
the show.
I totally
Barney
agree.
Miller.
And it's fun to play,
Oh yeah,
it just falls so easily on the bass neck, it's
Yeah.
it just is fun to play, but yeah, it captured a vibe.
yep.
Okay, so that's number 4 for you guys. I'm going to start number 5.
Correct.
Here we go.
Okay, so this is my official number 5. I do have a couple I'd like to mention,
Yeah, me too.
honorable mentions, but my final one is going to be Mr. Mike Post, 1981 Hill Street Blues.
There you go.
One of my very favorites, extremely emotional. I can't imagine. It was a drama, of course, a fantastic TV show, but it's just so well composed. And Larry Carlton played the wonderful guitar on that. That is just, it's almost heartbreaking.
Mhm.
It's just so beautifully played. And that was played on the radio back in
Yeah.
the day. And was, I don't know, a minor hit, would you say?
Yeah.
To some extent. It was played enough at the time. People thought it was a good piece of music.
Yeah.
That's
I don't
like-
know where it charted, but it did hit the charts.
That's like
Yeah.
I'm just gonna sidebar. It's not on my list. It was an
Yeah.
idea, but I didn't choose it. But another police show in the '70s, SWAT, that did. I can't remember how
Yeah.
high that charted. That was
Yeah.
released on a single.
Yeah,
and
that
it
was number
played
one
everywhere. Yeah, I thought-
for like a week.
Yeah, I
or
thought it
2
went
weeks,
to
something
number
like
one.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Rhythm,
that's more kitschy type of a song.
Yeah,
And
of
I,
course.
Yeah,
that's
Just saying
well,
it was played,
yes,
away from the
yes.
TV show.
Yeah, Rhythm
Yeah.
Heritage is the group that took
Okay.
that to number one in '76.
Yeah,
But,
so the show came out in 75, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's my ringtone. Everybody I work with knows when my phone goes off. It's the theme from SWAT.
Yeah, so that's my number 5. And
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah. Great piece of music.
all right. You're up.
All right. My number 5 is from originally 1963, the movie, and 1969, the animated TV show.
Okay.
Dun dun dun.
Henry Mancini.
You got it. Pink Panther. I love that. When I was a kid, I used to run around in my off-key voice trying to sing that song, and my mother was like, "You're out of key." Like, I can't help it. I'm a kid. But yeah, it's fantastic piece of music. Fits the whole sneaking around vibe, the whole jumping out and scaring you vibe. It's just a great piece of music.
Yeah,
Great
Wonderfully
composer.
composed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Henry Mancini, another prolific writer, made so many great
Oh, yeah.
great songs. Peter Gunn,
Mhm.
Right.
A great song. Pink Panther, everybody knows.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
so perfect. And I remember hearing him talk about writing it. He's like, I don't know where to go. And I was messing around and I came up with da-dun, da-dun. And where do I go from there? Da-dun, da-dun.
Go back down.
It's like
When in doubt, just go up or down.
he wasn't sure what to do, and just hitting the keys, he came up with it. So, yeah, great song, great choice.
And that sax, the way the melody is.
Oh yeah,
It's
yeah,
just
yeah.
such a for lack of a better.
Slinky.
Yeah, slinky, creamy
Yeah.
sound.
Yeah.
Just it's getting whatever.
Makes you
just-
want to go up and steal a diamond.
That's right. Let's go do a caper.
Okay. You guys know my love for surf music, so I have to include the theme from the Munsters.
That's an honorable mention here.
Yeah, theme from the Munsters by Jack Marshall. That show ran from 64 to 66. The same year, the Addams Family came out, which I like the Addams Family better, but I like the theme song for the Munsters better. It's just a perfect little surf tune. I love to play it. It's just so much fun, and everybody knows it, of course. That's one theme song that I think anybody can have fun with.
I'm going to check something here real quick, if you can bear with me. I have something to add to this.
I'll bear with you.
Okay.
I believe that I am correct. I believe that I'm right about this.
Oh, yeah.
I love that part.
This is going to be a little bit of trivia.
Right here. I had it.
There you go.
Honorable mention part.
Okay, so I am correct. So Jack Marshall was I want to say the uncle or a relative of the classical guitar player Christopher Parkening. And he also created, not only was he a composer, but he was a really fine jazz guitar player, but he created the caged system that a lot of guitar players use. He's that guy.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, he had quite the influence in Los Angeles. But I had forgotten about him as a composer. I always think about him as a guitar player.
Yeah.
Because his caged contribution is so giant. But yeah, he was related to Christopher Parkening.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that is a fact.
Guitarists in the family.
Yeah. Yeah. So you want to throw a couple of, I think we've gone relatively quickly.
Oh yeah. Throw in a couple. Throw
So
in
we'll
the one you're
Just
talking about.
everybody shout them out at once.
Yeah.
No, go ahead,
2,
Jamie.
3.
Give us one.
Well, I'm just gonna throw out a quick 5, just real quick. No elaborations. Mission Impossible.
It's on my list.
Lala Schifrin, fantastic.
5-4 time.
Yeah, Hawaii 5-0, another Morton Stevens.
That's on my list.
Kojak, 1973. This is Carol Kay played the bass on that.
Yeah, and I was going to say another
Wonderful
fun
music.
one to play on bass.
It is just such a great thing.
Yeah,
Rockford Files, another Mike Post.
Post and
Piece,
Pete Carpenter.
1974.
Excellent song.
And finally, Designing Women, 1986.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And this is a complete sentimental favorite. My mom loved the show, and when I hear that, I think of her. So that means something to me, and it always makes me smile. And she loved to watch that show, and she was a Southern Belle herself, and it just makes me smile and happy whenever I think about it. So
Nice.
that's my sentimental
Yeah.
favorite.
Cool.
Right.
You covered a lot of my bases there.
Yep, I got Hawaii 5 Mission Impossible. Let's see, the Munsters is on here. Honorable mention, Jan Hammer, Miami Vice from '84. Rockford
did
Files
expect-
on here too.
Mhm.
Sanford and Son, Quincy Jones.
I'm
Yes.
surprised no one mentioned that.
It's on my list,
But,
but not my top 5.
yeah.
And finally, Vince Guaraldi, Peanuts.
Yes.
Lucy.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, you just immediately you could probably hear the first chord and know, okay, I know what this is.
Yes.
Nice
I have a collection of his songs that I
Oh,
bought
yeah.
through iTunes. Yeah, they're great.
composer. Yep.
Yeah.
Danny Elfman's theme for The Simpsons is just so perfect.
Oh,
And that
yes.
show has run for so long. That's probably my
Yeah.
most modern.
I thought you would say it, so I left it off. my
Yeah,
list.
the most
It's
modern one on the list.
1987. I want to say the
Um,
first year of The Simpsons was 87.
87,
I think they were.
89.
I think they were introduced on the
Oh, yeah.
Tracy Ullman show.
Yeah, you're right.
87,
That was
and-
87.
And
Yeah.
The Simpsons came out in '89.
Yeah.
Also, did the theme not start until 89 as we know it?
I don't know.
I don't think it had a theme on the Tracy Ullman. show.
Okay. So
Yeah.
that makes sense. If it was 89, that does make sense. Okay.
You can't. A Bonanza is like.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if so many people remember that, but for us old folks, yeah, Bonanza was a great one
Yeah.
from Jay Livingston. That was from '59 to '73. That show went on
It was
for a
long
while,
running show.
and that actually made the charts too in '61, I think.
Oh,
It
wow.
actually was on the radio. We mentioned Peter Gunn. Peter Gunn theme is a classic.
Mm-mm.
Just
Mike-
like Wipeout, it's just fun to play when you're in a
Michael
garage
taught
band.
me that bass line. Probably my first bass line I played.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh gosh,
It
do
was
I have any
so
more?
hard to play.
The
I just
Office-
want to say, well, I'm sorry. Go ahead,
the
Mike.
theme from The Office was written by
Yes.
Jay Ferguson also. 05 to 13. That just, I mean, that theme song is so perfect for that show.
Yeah.
because if you listen to the theme song from The Office, it sounds like you've been called into the conference room and you're having to watch a training film,
Yeah.
and that's the
Right.
music that starts it. You know, it's just so
Right.
it's excellent, and I love that theme.
I just wanted to say real quickly about Bonanza, just a really quick memory. Whenever you see that the
The map.
show start, the map, and it
Yeah.
says Virginia City on it, that's Nevada.
Yeah.
And I've been to Virginia City. It's nothing like I would have thought it was. It's not far from Reno. And
Did you play the music on your
I did
phone?
not even think about it at the
Road
time.
through?
You know what's funny about Virginia City is there's wild horses there. So they get hit by cars.
Oh,
You
wow.
have to be really careful. They're just everywhere. I mean,
Yeah.
but that's my overwhelming memory of it. And it's sort of like a little spooky old ghost, not ghost town,
Mhm.
but cowboy town or something that they've
Seen
tried to.
better days.
Ghosts of the Car.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I just always think about Virginia City when I think about the map that they had on there. So
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, that was my mention. So did you have several more that you wanted to mention, Grant?
No, I mentioned them already.
Oh, you did already mention them.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Well, all right. So we've gone through quite a few. I have no idea how long this show is because my timer is fooling me. So
We're under an hour.
okay, so we've been pretty
So,
successful this
right
week.
on track.
Mhm.
All right. Well, thanks for checking in, everybody. We're a little all over the place this week, but that was fun for us. I hope you
There's
guys
so
got a
many
kick
themes.
out of it.
Did we leave anything out? Put it in the comments.
Yeah.
Give us
Yes,
some of your
absolutely.
favorites.
Definitely. We want to hear from you guys if there's anything you feel like we
Oh, I can't
missed.
do it like Christina.
Educate us that there were so many others that we could have chosen,
Oh yeah.
that we could have mentioned, I should say. There's
Yeah.
so many great pieces of music, but there's just simply not time. But we will see you guys back next week. Thanks so much for checking in with us. And peace out.
All right. Be well.